Are you looking to take the next step in your Rocket League career? Then join the RLPC using the Discord link below.
Good evening, Rocket League players and RLPC fans. My name is Happy. I'm your host this evening, and I am pleased to bring you another day of fantastic Rocket League content. To start things off tonight, we have a single A match between the Stallions and Jesters. Later on, we'll have a double A, then a triple A, and then a major match. So stay tuned for those. But to start off here, I am going to be joined by our single A analyst, Squintle. How are you doing this evening?
I am doing pretty great. How about you?
I'm doing absolutely fantastic. Very excited to get started here.
I am as well.
So tonight we have for A League the Stallions versus the Jesters. Stallions sitting at 8-1, and they're actually your team. And then the Jesters are sitting at 6-3. We'll start with your team since you're going to be very knowledgeable about that. How has your team handled this season?
Yeah, we've come into the season really strong. Obviously, one loss on the sheet, which it being a game five, so obviously it was a close one. We've come in here strong. Definitely an offensive team when we're looking at the stats. Um, we're averaging about, I want to say, let me check it. 3.2 goals per game right now is what we're averaging. And that's, I think, the highest goals per game in the league right now, if I am not mistaken.
Yeah, that's certainly a really good thing to have right now. I mean, you've taken a very commanding lead of your division, and you know your competition outside of the division is mostly just the Titans and Ravens at this point. Um, yeah, and certainly a great way to start the season. And we're about halfway through now. How do you think you guys have to keep this going for the second half of the season?
So yeah, we definitely just cannot let our foot off the gas. We've been going into every game very strongly, always taking the first game, taking the momentum lead in the start of games. Therefore, we just constantly are trying to put pressure on our opponents and not give them any space to move, and that's what we have to do for the rest of the season.
Yeah, certainly. Pressure's everything at this level. You should just wait until they crack. Well, let's turn our attention to your opponent tonight. You have the Jesters. They've struggled throughout this first half of the season. Uh, and how might they be able to turn this game around?
Well, the Jesters had a very strong start to the season. They started off 3-0, and then after that, they've been on a six-game losing streak. Ever since that tough loss against the Titans in their fourth matchup, it's looking pretty rough for them. They are only averaging around 1.8 goals per game, which is considerably low. Actually, the lowest in the league currently when it comes to goals. So they're really gonna have to find a way to put some of their shots on target better, and to find more scoring opportunities if they want to come out on top.
Certainly. Just looking at their roster right now, it looks like they may have picked up a new player, Troop Master. Going into this trade deadline on Sunday, uh, how do you think they might be able to switch things up and be able to turn things around, perhaps?
Well, yeah, True Master actually just came into this lineup today. Is when they made the replacement player request. So obviously he probably has not had a single chance to play with these guys yet. Um, and then if we're gonna look at the who what could be happening is there's a few I've seen a few A players being put up for trade right now. So maybe Mitch takes this opportunity to maybe look for a change up in this Jester's lineup.
Yeah, certainly things can change right now. A lot of people trading away players, some people buying players. And depending on how the Jesters see where they want to go for the rest of the season, they either approach this as sellers or buyers. But let's take a step back a little and just look at the league as a whole. Obviously, you, the Titans, and the Ravens are sitting at the top here. Then you just have the Slate Conference down in the corner, where you have a three-way tie for for the lead of the division between the Tempest, Eskimos, and Embers. Might not be a tie anymore. Yeah, no, it's a tie. All of them sitting at 4 and 5. What do you think might happen with that division?
Yeah, so this is actually a crazy looking appearance. It's been a while since we've seen a division this close. Obviously, we've had divisions within one game or two games, but to have three teams the same exact record right now is kind of crazy to look at. And arguably, Tempest does have the slight edge right now, as they are 3-1 in their division compared to the Embers and Eskimos, who are sitting at 2-2 in the division. So technically speaking, you could say that the Tempest have the slight edge right now, as they have been one more divisional opponent than the rest of the teams. But yeah, it's definitely going to be a battle for them throughout the whole division, and every team's got to make sure that they're always at their best when playing, as that number one spot is really important because that guarantees you a playoff spot. Unlike what seems to be could happen is that the brawler division actually sends two wildcard teams to the playoffs if that division is going to stay this close.
Yeah, and if the Brawler division was to send two teams into the playoffs, it actually would look like it would be the Jesters right now. So actually, the Jesters are sitting here with a good opportunity, actually, to maybe squeak into the playoffs by just getting that last wild card spot. But then looking at the rest of the division here, obviously you guys are very good, but just looking at some of the bottom teams here, what's brought them to this place, and how do they try to get out of it throughout the second half of the season?
Yeah, and looking at some of these bottom teams, what makes a bottom team is you have to be good at one thing or the other. Obviously, being good at both offense and defense is really helpful. As you can see from Stallions, Ravens, and Titans, they all have a pretty solid goals per game and saves per game ratio, meaning they're good on both sides of the ball. But if you're a team, say like the Goals, who are only averaging less than 2 goals per game, and their defense, actually, to be fair, their defense is quite high up there, four saves per game, but they're taking a lot of shots per game. So that's one thing to consider, is learning how to shut down shooting opportunities and also creating them yourselves. You really have to balance between the two and make sure your team can either score goals or defend goals.
Yeah, just looking, it looks like they've had a lot of shots against, so they're kind of getting stuck on their own half, which can lead to that higher saves per game. But if you can't keep it out forever, it's not necessarily looking good for you. So yeah, if yeah, just a couple of these teams, just a lot of shots against. If they can break out of their half, maybe that'll give them some hope. Yeah, let's go back to this match here just real quick. Because I know you got to get going to get ready. Obviously, you probably think you're going to win. uh, how much trouble do you think the Jesters give you tonight?
I am gonna say we 3-1 them.
3-1. Okay, so you're thinking maybe that game 3 eludes you, because that's the hardest one to lose.
Yeah.
And they take that one, and then you come back and seal it.
Yeah, that's gonna be my guess for this matchup.
Yeah, that sounds fair. All right, I will let you get on to your match. And if Quantum and Titan are just about ready, perhaps, like Quantum might be more than Titan, maybe we can move on to them.
And
This way.
thank you for having me today.
Yeah, we'll look forward to watching you.
All right, see you then.
All right. Hello, Quantum. How are you doing this evening?
Hey, I'm doing pretty well. That conversation with Squiddle, well, ladies and gentlemen, you got yourselves your one-way ticket. That's practically an interview with the player that's about to play, right? So you practically got yourself your first interview with a pregame interview, if you think about it that way. How's that feel going under your belt?
Oh, it feels good. Feels good to get that thing out of the way. Yeah, no, I'm looking forward to watching Squintle tonight. He's a good guy.
He is a good guy, and he's really good at Rocket League as well. I'd be surprised if the Stallions lose this. They are really strong. The Jesters aren't that bad. They might even bring them to Game 5, contrary to what Squintle said. He said it would be Game 4. But the Stallions could easily 3-0 as well, right? So it just depends which Jesters team comes out. If it's a strong Jesters team, this goes to 5. If it's a weak Jesters team, this is an easy 3-0. Because even the weakest Stallion team would win against the Jesters here.
Yeah, I would certainly agree with that. And I'm also happy to introduce Titan. It looks like you're ready.
I am indeed. I am here. I am ready to go. My mic was muted and I was having trouble pressing the button on it to unmute it. Fun times.
We all have those days. On that note, I'm going to leave you guys to it. I'll see you on the other side of the match.
Thank you very much, Happy. Titan, you are the play-by-play, so would you like to intro us into this match here?
Yeah, so, Jesters versus Stallions. You heard a bit of talk about it from I will be honest, a biased standpoint. You know, as much as we love Squintle, as awesome as he is, come on, he's playing. You can't trust all of his words, you know? But of course, coming into this, you do have to give the Stallions the advantage. They have been playing extremely well. I believe we have seen them once before on stream. If not just from their performances in general, from their stats, from how they've been doing. Just looking at them, you're like, yeah, this team is obviously one of the favorites to even. Of course, they're probably going to advance first in their group. So it's absolutely like if the Stallions just come out and play their game, then you're definitely expecting them to get a win here. And the Jesters, they're not a bad team, as you said. They're in the middling grounds. They're doing pretty decently. They have themselves a good win-loss ratio at the moment. They're in the upper end of the middle part.
Are we looking at the right league here?
Never mind. Wrong Jesters.
Jesters. So
wrong Jesters.
There are 3 8-1 teams, right? One of them being the Ravens with a plus 25 goal differential, the Titans at 8-1 who have a plus 50, and the Stallions at plus 53, right? So the Stallion team is really strong. Squintle is their sub. That's how strong they are. Squintle is technically their sub, right? So that says a lot about that team in general. Meanwhile, the Jesters, right? They got I'm Focused, Prototype, Sneers, and Troopmaster there. They're 3-6 with a negative 25. Like I said, a strong Jesters team up against a weak Stallions team. I'd still pick the Stallions over that.
Yeah, and I was just looking at the wrong team there, so
I think you might have been looking at the wrong Jesters.
I don't even know how that happened, but yes, they're 3-6. So yeah, even if they do come out here and they play outstanding Rocket League, just at this level, especially at the in A, it really is hard to argue against teams that have consistently performed well. If a team has like moments of brilliance where you look at them and you're like, oh, they're playing great, but then in other series they don't look so good, you can kind of make an argument for them maybe dropping a game to these lower teams. But that's not the case with the Stallions. They're 8-1. They've kept up the performance, and the only series they lost was a Game 5. So it is really hard here to argue for the Jesters being able to come out and get a win here. Maybe they get a Game 5, but I do think the 3-1 is even Squintle being a bit generous there. Because even though he's the sub, I think he's just saying, maybe we won't be a little bit warmed up. But Stallions obviously the favorite heading into this, as we're still waiting on the players to join on up.
But obviously the Stallions are the favorites, right? Coming into here, and even if they had to take a sub, right? The 2 players on that Stallion team have enough chemistry to probably get that third man into position correctly, right? Communicate very well, and so that third man I don't think would be an issue even if they had to bring one in. So yeah, that's my big problem with the Jesters right now, is that they don't look that strong, right? They are a strong team on paper, but when it comes push to shove, it shows that the Stallions are a team that can take the shove and then push even harder than the shove you just gave them.
Yeah, and I absolutely think that the Stallions here can come in, and you can definitely have their 2 starters perform extremely well. And I don't even think that that Squintle's a bad sub to have. Like, when you normally look at substitute players like this, you're saying, well, this team, like, usually what happens is teams do have a player that or they have a few players. Their starting roster is kind of what they rely on. So when they have to bring in that sub, it does sometimes look a bit rough. But you have Squintle. Squintle's really good, so you're not really hurting too much having to sub him in.
No, exactly.
As I believe we are still just waiting for everybody to get on in here.
I mean, he's not the biggest sub either, right? As we wait here, right? He's not the biggest sub. He's played 6 games and he's about to play his 7th. So he's played the majority of the games. In fact, the player who's played the least is Michael Burt P, who, yes, is their highest in MMR. But if you look at the MMR difference between all 4 of these players, it's 18, right? The lowest is technically short at 1581. Meanwhile, Michael Bird is at 1599. So there's only an 18 MMR difference between these 4 players. Yet they have 2 big scorers in Michael and Short, both with over 1.3 goals per game, both with over 3/4 of an assist per game, and every player on that roster has at least half an assist per game. Everyone has at least a save per game, and both players who haven't scored a goal per game, being Squintle and Kingspiff, have at least half a goal per game. So it's pretty decent. This team is really strong. Yeah. And if you compare that with Jesters, right? Well, there's no one with a goal per game. In fact, the player with the least amount of with the highest goals per game on Jesters has the least amount on Stallions. If you look at their saves per game, there's a player that doesn't have a complete save per game, and none of the players even have assists per game close to that of the lowest on Stallions. So that is definitely point to Stallions, right? They've been consistent at scoring, and it seems like they have very strong teammate utilization, and I think that's going to continue that way.
Yeah, and I mean, as you said there, Squintle, he's not even really a sub. He's played more than their highest MMR player, but the whole roster is very, very strong. So for the Stallions, this is what they've been using for most of the season. This is what's been working for them. So once we do get them in here, as we are still waiting for them all to join on up, we should get this best of 5 underway. But I would not be surprised if it does end up in, maybe a 3-0. It's a possibility. We obviously don't like the sweeps, but they do happen occasionally. But while we are waiting, one thing I think to look forward to, it was mentioned on stream with the desk, and they're going to talk about it more. But the next match we're heading into, we're kind of going up the ranks. So we're starting with A, going AA, AAA, and ending off with Major, which might be the best match of the night, looking at those teams. But for a team like the Jesters, one thing that you have to talk about is, hey, you're 3-6. You're not in a terrible spot, but you really, at this point, you really have to start thinking about managing, how many losses you get. Because if you do get too many more losses, it starts to become a bit sketchy as to whether or not you will get into playoffs. Of course, I think they're in a fairly good division comparatively, so it's not like hurting them too much. But these are kind of the matches where it's really important to do well, because even if you do lose, you just want to have, you want to get the few wins from it. At least you want to have that goal differential not be too terrible.
Give me a sec here. You can keep on talking about the divisions. I just have a small little thing here to talk with.
Yes. So let me actually get this up so I can talk about it a little bit more, because this is... I like talking about division stuff. I like talking about math. Math is very fun. So let me actually pull this up so I can talk in a bit more accurately about it. Because, normally when I do talk, it is sometimes not correct. And most of the time it's not correct, actually. I say a lot of things that are incorrect, but that's whatever. But yeah, so let me go here to the rosters and check this out.
All right, so situation at hand is just that Mitch is trying to get his players in there. Problem with one player trying to get in and his computer was crashing, so they're just trying to figure everything out here just before the match starts. If any of the players are listening, please don't put on any esports decals or decals that can't change color. That way you don't get penalized for something that, well, should be easily avoidable, right? So yeah, they have 2 out of 3 players ready and 1 player left to find here. That's why they haven't joined in just yet. They are waiting on one last person here, as everyone gets in. Actually, it might be Squintle that we're waiting on here.
God dang it, Squintle. Come on. Get in here.
Squintle,
Squintle, we summoned thee.
we summon thee to join.
But as I was going to talk about with the divisions, so for the Jesters, they're not in a terrible spot. There are divisions that are much closer than theirs. I believe, for instance, the Wild division is actually decently close. Like none of their teams are, all their teams have at least 3 wins, which is obviously very, very nice for them. The Predator division as well, also very close, where the second place team is only 5-4. The Jesters, they're not in a terrible spot, but they did kind of get the shaft with their division draw because you have a team that's 8-1. You have then the next highest team up there is 6-3. So they're in a spot where you really do need to start turning your season around because you're already doing twice as worse as the next closest team that's in second place.
But they still have a chance. And if you think about it, look at the Elements division, right? There's 3 teams that are 4-5. And there are 3 teams technically from the Brawler division that could make it in. In fact, all 4 teams from the Brawler division could go in. It's not the number 1 spot. It's just the top 4 teams in each conference that make it in, right? So if the Embers actually do have a worse record than, let's say, the Wranglers, all 4 teams from the Brawler division will make it in. But that's a very big hypothetical if, right?
Yeah. I mean, that would have to be an insanely stacked division for that to happen. They would have to do insanely well. I don't think we've ever seen that happen. It's just one division clean sweeps through all their players.
No, I don't think we have either. But you know what else we haven't seen yet? This game's starting. Game 1 is underway, and it's starting off strong already.
Yes, we're finally into it. They're all in. Squintle has arrived. We summoned him. It was a bit delayed, The transmutation circles need a bit of time. The teleportation crystals were just a bit off as Blue Mars with a whiff there, but it's not going to be too bad. And for the Stallions here, the game 1 is actually very important because you want to start off strong, especially if you are the favorite, and Short does just that with the top corner shot.
Yeah, Short getting that pass, and he's just going to take it. Beautiful shot there right in the top corner. Nothing you can really do there. Top corner far side is a really hard shot to stop, and especially from that position there.
Yeah, just places it behind the defender, and that's not really a spot that you can easily get to without a pre-jump or perfect positioning, which that unfortunately was not there for the Jesters, and for them, that's not the way that you want to start off this series, of course. Game 1, in these matchups where it is such a huge difference in score and how the teams have performed, is much more important than in a match against teams that are, maybe fairly even. Because in those matches, you'll see teams just, okay, we're going to chill out game 1, we're going to get a feel for this. But in this case, Jesters, you really need to start off strong. You can't really afford to be put on the back foot because, any hit to your mental attitude towards the game, any momentum that you won't be having that will be going towards your opponent is just going to harm your chances of trying to make this upset. But that is a great bump from Blue Mars, and Soars will get in the first goal for the Jesters.
That is a beautiful team play here. King Spiff trying to get the ball out short. Can't avoid the bump there. And that's a beautiful goal for Soars, who puts it in far side. And that is a 1-1 tie. The Stallions are not playing with Michael Burt, as we said. Their top player in MMR-wise is not playing again today. And it seems like there's a lot of players on the side of on the side of Jesters. Sneers is the only player that's really been on this roster. I don't know if they're players who are subbed down from AA, but one of them must be. I'm pretty sure.
Yes, I
think that might be Soars, actually.
Yeah, I believe Soars is, as a double commit there, will give Short a nice little run down the center field, and the Stallions actually surprisingly off to a fairly slow start, but they're still going to find themselves with the goal advantage.
Short with a little bit of BM there. The turtle goal. When's the last time you've seen a turtle goal of that fashion? I haven't seen one like that in a while.
Yeah, normally you don't have enough time to do that. Normally there's a third man back, but the double commit did come through. I believe it was Soars and actually Sneers there on the same rotation, trying to go for the same touch. But these bump attempts are so nice. Just clearing out the net, making sure that these shots are absolutely free, and that's going to be the equalizing goal.
That is a beautiful play by Soares, just absolutely buzzing around Squintle's space, acting like a little fly, distracting, and that distracts just enough. And the ball goes into the back of the net. We are tied at 2 once again. And yeah, this Jesters team is playing very strongly indeed.
This is absolutely what you do want to see, is getting yourself back into the game even after that first goal going the way of your opponent. Short in the air, though, trying to see what he can do. That's a miss on the defense. And he didn't need to do too much. The first touch was just enough, and he manages to put it in.
Yeah, and that's that first touch was all that was needed. Blue Mars, it goes over him. That's a nice lob, and it finds itself in the top shelf. Very well placed, in fact, and that'll do it. That's a 3-2 lead halfway through this game.
Yeah, and you know, so far for both these teams, offense doing decently. Both of them managing to find their shots, finding their touches fairly well. The defense just been a bit suspicious at points for both sides. To be fair, though, for the Jesters, they have forced out those mistakes. They've been going for bumps and demos, which is absolutely a strategy that we need to see more of. It's something I always say, you know, I want to see more aggression from teams, because a good demo is just beautiful to behold. As that shot will not find its way in. 2 minutes left here in game number 1, and still the Stallions get themselves that 1 goal advantage. Again, they haven't really had a very strong start, though, to this game. It has felt like a majority of the pressure has been for the Jesters. They've been really keeping this on to the yellow half. They've been managing to find shots. They've been keeping this in their opponent's half, and they're finding these great touches, but they're just not able to finish it off.
No, and they still haven't found a lead yet this series, or this game, I should say, because it is game 1 after all. The series has only been going on as long as game number 1 has. In the background, I was just doing a little bit of digging, and Blue Mars is the double A call-up. Soares is an A substitute.
Oh, okay, yeah. I'm surprised, because Soares is a great player. I thought he was already on a roster, to be honest.
Maybe something just wasn't working out in his team and he got dropped. I'm not too sure. Maybe I could look into that.
Yeah, I mean, of course, it's great that Soares now has been called in for this Jesters squad, because honestly, he is performing quite well so far in this game 1, top of that leaderboard. Has their only save, as their defense hasn't been the strongest. They've had, I think, the most defensive mistakes, and Blue Mars doesn't exactly find a good touch here and can't get back to it. Squintle gets the 4th goal, and with less than a minute left, that is a very hard comeback here for the Jesters.
That is a very hard comeback indeed, but 2 goals in 50 seconds is a very doable. Beetle, you can join by joining into the server and just playing in the league as you would. You'd get drafted into the league during the offseason, which should take place in about a month and a half.
Sounds about right.
Sounds about right, because there's about a month of Rocket League, then about 2-3 weeks of playoffs, and yeah, then's the draft. So you'd be drafted in and around that time. You'd get to beat plenty of players, make plenty of friends, and that's really the point of the league, right? Just making friends, playing Rocket League, and having fun.
Yes, and obviously, and showing off and winning, beating your opponent. Gloating about it and being a terrible sport, all part of the fun and games. Just kidding, though. Please be friendly to everybody. Everyone just wants to play Rocket League and have some fun, as this clock was going to hit 0. It'll be kept up for a little bit longer, but the Stallions get themselves that game 1 victory, even though, again, you know, this wasn't really a strong performance from them, I don't think. We didn't see them really performing especially well, but they still managed to get the win.
Yeah, and they just played better than the Jesters here. The Jesters strong on offense, stronger on offense, I should say, with a 7-5 shot lead. But the goals all came from the Stallions there, and they were able to get the saves when they needed to, and otherwise the Jesters missed 2 shots. They hit the post, and otherwise every shot from the Stallions went directly on net. In fact, more so. And yeah, 4 goals on 5 shots is quite tremendous.
Yeah. I mean, 80% shooting accuracy, and the only other shot was saved away. They've been doing just a great job on offense, and the Jesters, again, on defense. You know, we've seen a few mistakes there. Of course, they have Soares in, and I did get corrected in chat. I believe he's on the Titans.
He is on the Titans, which is an 8-1 team.
Yeah.
So he's a pretty decent sub.
You have a good sub, but unfortunately, you know, there isn't really any there's no cohesiveness with the defense sometimes. There's a few rotational errors that we're seeing that is causing them to give away goals, but we're gonna have to see if the Jesters can get into get into the feeling of things with Soars in these next 2 games or so. As the Stallions, also, I mean, both these teams, there were lots of things to look at there to improve as we head into game 2, and we're just gonna have to see which team does warm up.
And yeah, just looking at Blue Mars, yeah, he was the lowest in points this match. But listen, the guy hasn't played with these guys before, I'm pretty sure. Especially not Soars, right? Being on the Titans while he's on the Dukes, right? 2 completely different orgs and leagues. So it's not comprehensible that these 2 played with each other before. This might be just a complete group of misfits, but they are decent misfits, if I could say, right? Soars are the better players currently in A. Blue Mars, a AA player, so nothing to sneeze at. Not that you should be sneezing in the first place. And obviously Sneers, who's already been on that team and performing well as he has been all season, though that is quite little compared to what the Stallions have been performing so far.
Yeah, and as we get loaded on in here to game number 2, again, Stallions getting that first game win. It was just, I would say a comfortable game. It was close there for a second, but they just managed to get the 2-goal lead towards the end, and they just held on to that for as long as they needed. For the Jesters, we are going to need to see them come out with, something special. We're going to need to see the aggressiveness from them, but that's hard when you have a roster of people that have never played before. And they did a really good job in game 1 considering that, but Squintle is going to put in the first goal for the Stallions.
Yeah, the Stallions are just a well-oiled machine. And look at that crisp pass from King Spiff over to Squiddle, cross, crease, and Blue Mars. What do you want to do against that 1v2 situation there? You have to commit to the pass. And expecting the shot to go short side, it goes straight down the middle instead.
Yeah, there's a few options there, but all of them are kind of iffy. If you're the last player on defense, you either commit immediately to the challenge on the passer, trying to see if they're going for a shot or guessing that they're going for that. But then, of course, there's a chance you get outpaced. You commit to the pass, and there's always the chance that it does just get shot around you as that shot almost bounces in, but Short will get the save. And then just sitting back, as you said, you have to try and read where the shot is going, and Blue Mars unfortunately just couldn't there.
Yeah, and that is quite unfortunate if you think about it. It was pretty close, but once again, it's a 1-0 lead for the Stallions. As expected, right? They are a pretty strong team, but right now, there's a good chance for the Jesters here. They are this group of misfits that can possibly make it work together.
They definitely have the potential too, as Soars with a good fake now, trying to see if he can get it under the next one, but Short will just find that touch. And so far, 1.5 minutes gone in game number 2. Short in the air, trying to see what he can do. Can't get it in. Soars with the save, and Sneers helps him out a little bit, gets credited for it. But right now, the Stallions putting on plenty of pressure, as that's going to be a whiff off the backboard. Soars will get in position to find the save. But still, the Stallions just holding this midfield line. That touch, not the best, as it's all the way back into their own half now and they concede pressure, but it has been 2 minutes of gameplay. They have found the only goal, and Jesters really have not been given any looks on net.
Well, not the Jesters per se, but when they do have the chances, right? Short came up behind Sneers and sent him to Narnia, and while he tried to pop it up in the air, right? And that's what allowed him to make that save earlier, because he got sent directly back into his zone. And this is another play here. Blue Mars gets absolutely pressured by King Spiff there, and Sneers and Soars are not ready for that ball to be in the midfield there. They try to challenge, but both fail, and it's in the back of the net.
Yeah, and again, just a little situation there where a bit of rotation, just getting beat to a touch, and they're not in the right position that they need to be as this infield pass is onto the backboard. Soars will get there first and finds a good clear out of it. Immediately sent back, and oh my god, Squintle just bangs it right on in. I have no idea how he got that much power.
He got a lot of power on that one. That's not going to be representative of the 93 kilometers, I think. That is bar down and in. That is a very, very hard shot to read, especially if you are up in the air there. How do you even go about attacking that ball?
Well, you have to expect him to shoot it from there first, which is
Wait.
already that's a big leap to make.
If you do, it's practically like hero calling in poker, right? you got nothing to work with, yet you call because you feel like your opponent has absolutely nothing else to do. And, well, that's pretty much it. If you call Squintle's bluff there, well, you're going to make the save, but who's going to call that bluff, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of other things he could have done in that position. That shot just barely off the post. And that goal will just find its way in, actually. No one on the rotation back for the Jesters. And, yeah, I mean, we were talking a lot about that goal, and it is just a situation where you can't really expect that shot to be going in. This was just a straight-up beat on the last man, and Squintle finds the fourth goal. And with only a minute and 48 left, again, Jesters in a pretty rough spot here to try and make a comeback.
Definitely very rough, thanks to Squintle's 4 goals here, and his teammates are really helping him out too. Squintle having 1 save, but his teammates having 3 and 2 respectively. That's very good because the offense of the Jesters has actually technically been stronger with the amount of shots that's on net. But once again, the shooting percentage from the Stallions team is very strong indeed.
Yeah, and Squintle is really being allowed to do whatever he wants on the offensive end. He's allowed to find the shots, and Short and King Spiff. Sorry, King Spiff. For some reason I thought that was an R, and I was like, Spirit? No. Short and King Spirit or oh my God, Spiff, King Spiff. Saying they were having a little bit of a. They were too bored just playing defense, and they managed to connect up there on a play. Gets it to 5-0, and with a minute left, that is pretty much game 2 under wraps.
It practically is 65 seconds left here, so if you think about it, 5 goals, that'd be a goal every 12, 13 seconds. That is way too rough of an ask for any team to do, right? Even no matter who you're up against, right? It would really be a tough ask.
Yeah, and I mean, already we've had around 20 seconds just wind off the clock, which is made it so. Which it's now in a position where this game is over, and it's just the Jesters trying to see if they can find something. They will get a goal for their troubles, and it is nice to find yourself that one little extra goal to end it off. A nice little momentum boost.
Yeah, exactly. Good little momentum boost going into game 3 here. This will definitely help the motivation. Hey, we can score 1 goal if we get them to over-rotate, if we can keep them in their own zone here. They're not invincible on defense, right? They scored 2 goals in the first game. All they need to do really is to bulk down on their defense, because their offense has been pretty good, though they've not been scoring with it. Their offense has been outdoing that of the Stallions, right? Their shots are 12 in their favor, right? 12 to 8 in their favor. So they do have that in their advantage, but it's the shot accuracy right now. Because they're giving off way too many easy saves, right? Because there's 9 saves on the side. Oh, wow. Short trying to get that pass out there, and that's not. Sorry, King Spiff not trying to find a Short there, and well, Short not going to find the back of the net.
Yeah, I mean,
his car was a little bit too short to reach that ball.
Oh my God. I'm going to avert all of your attention to the scoreboard now, and we're going to just ignore that as Squintle here has himself both a hat trick and a savior medal in game number 2. Just an outstanding performance from him. King Spiff also getting 4 saves, and you have Short there at the bottom of their scoreboard, but he's got 2 saves and assists. He's at 305 points. Everyone on this team right now is performing extremely well, and for the Jesters here, it's really hard to say because game 1 was close until maybe the last minute, but that game 2, they had their chances, but it was immediately shut down, and then it was transitioned right back and scored on them. It was just full control from the Stallions.
Full control from the Stallions. Listen, you don't have a 5-0 lead without controlling something, but somehow the Jesters had the most amount of shots, right? So that would tell you that they had the ball more often, but Yeah, the way they handle those shots, because most shots coming from Stallions are passes, right? If you think about it, it's one passing it off to the other, or a really awkward shot that no one would guess, such as Squintle's third goal, right? Right off the wall. That is not something that you would guess someone shooting from. Especially not at this level. You'd think more of it as a Platinum, right? Oh, he's got the ball. He might be trying to lob it up, right? That's Platinum thinking, and I'm saying that because that is literally my way of thinking when I play. So I think I'm right in saying that, but you don't really expect it at the GC level.
Yeah, and I think it was just Squintle here was trying to just get the touch down. He said, hey, listen, worst that happens, I give them possession off the backboard, but best thing possible, it forces them to scramble, gets them out of position, and luckily for him, there was actually no one expecting him to just bang it off the sidewall that hard, and it ends up finding its way into net. But right now, the Stallions, they have themselves a 2-0 lead in the series. This is looking quite scary for the Jesters. Of course, they have in 2 substitute players, and so it wasn't going to be an easy series to start off with that anyway. And now they're in the situation where they need to find a reverse sweep for this Jesters team if they want a chance at playoffs. Because again, at this point, while you're 3-6 and or getting this far in the season, you do need to start really worrying about how you are performing comparative to other teams in both your bracket and in your conference, as that shot not going to find its way in. As Sneers pops it up, the clear will come through, and again, Stallions just good damage control.
Very good damage control indeed. That's going to be a double tap attempt from short, but just falls short of that one. That's going to find its way into the offensive zone. And I do like the Stallions team, just how whenever they find the ball, they're trying to keep possession. Meanwhile, on the other side, they're not trying to keep possession. They're actually trying to get rid of the ball as fast as possible. But by shooting it on net, most teams would just get rid of it like punting in American football, right? They just punt the ball away. But this team is at least putting it on net, right? At least making it somewhat dangerous. Meanwhile, once it's punted to them, the Stallions try and keep the ball in their zone, and or at least to themselves when they're not in the offensive zone.
Yeah, the Stallions doing a good job playing their possession. They absolutely know how to get a touch so that they can follow it up, like right there. King Spiff gets a touch that he knows he can have the opportunity to challenge again, and makes it easier for his teammates to fall into rotation, although Squintle doesn't find that touch, but it doesn't matter. And so far for the Jesters, they've kept this game, 0-0, scoreless for the past 3 minutes or so, but you do have to start to worry, because the longer this game goes, the Stallions have just looked like the stronger team so far. They have had more consistent touches. Their rotation has never looked faulty. They managed to defend every single shot away. Is this one going to be saved? Squintle with the follow-up won't be able to find it, but he's going to try and keep this pressure going. Short on the pre-jump, not a lot of boost. It doesn't matter, as Short is going to find the drop down. And that is a wonderful play from the Stallions.
Wonderful indeed, and with 101 seconds left on the clock, that is how you find your first goal. It's a wonderful goal, and it's a good way to start it off. Now, it's very late in the game, though, so they've been trying, the Jesters have been trying to find a way to answer here, and it's been rough for them, right? They have the most shots once again, but shots does not equal goals for them, it seems.
Yeah, and sometimes that's just how it is hey, we have a lot of shots here, but our accuracy is not coming through. We unfortunately just can't find we can't really get the defense out of position. And for the Stallions, they've been, again, the rotation has been absolutely flawless, and they've been able to constantly be where they need to be. King Spiff, who's been at the bottom of their scoreboard for the past who has been on the lower end of the scoring, has himself already a savior medal. It's just the Stallions are playing a really good game, and they're making sure that everyone is in rotation, in position, and you can tell with how just their scores look. Everyone's getting a chance to do something.
Yeah, it's not like in game number one. Game number one, they had 2 goals off of bump plays, right? And, well, we haven't been seeing those bump plays in the last 10 minutes, and I wonder why, because it was actually really working well for them. But in game number 2, they just didn't take it out. In game 3, it makes more sense. They've been playing more defensively. That being said, that's a huge miss there and that could be game, set, dagger.
I mean,
Oh, wow, what a tip! I didn't know that was tipped. Oh, my goodness.
just the ghost touch. You know, King Smith says, I want credit for that. I'm not going to change its course at all, but it's my goal. And there was nobody in position. This one off the backboard. The third goal could end it already, but it won't find its way in. The Jesters, they really do need to get something going, and with these few whiffs coming through, with this clock hitting 10 seconds left. And with that challenge going the way of the Stallions, that will be game number 3. That will be the set being closed out. That's a 3-0 win for the Stallions. They're going up to 9-1. And for the Jesters, you know, their season isn't over. There's still definitely a chance for them to come back, but 3-7 is not a spot where you really want to be, especially when the top 2 teams in your own division are performing so well.
No, especially not. How is this one still in the air, but they can't find it? Oh, that was so close. But that is going to be a 3-0 Stallions victory. That being said, I didn't want to say this at the top of the show, but this was going to be a forfeit no matter what, because Soares is an illegal sub since he is on Titans already.
Yeah.
So, despite bringing in an illegal sub, right, one of the best players in A, they were not able to even take a game off of Stallions, and they were just... The Jesters were playing so good, right? They played really, really well on offense, but it's sad. It really is to see how they just couldn't get anything going on offense. The defense from the Stallions was so strong, right? As strong as an ox, I'd like to say, but you know, like the Jesters just they had their chances, but they just couldn't bury it when it mattered the most because the Stallions just came out stronger.
Yeah, and I mean, I think that just is the difference between a team that's had time and knows how each other play. And you saw like their rotation, it never really looked, you didn't see double commits out of them, and that's huge, you know? They constantly knew where each other were. They were always making sure that they had possession with each touch. And of course, for the Jesters there, that was a team that had never played together. None of them probably, I would bet, have ever played a game of Rocket League together. But ladies and gentlemen, that is going to do it for our first match. I believe we are going to be going to a short